Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Wine Questions. This week we're going to be talking about ordering wine in a restaurant. More specifically, what to do if you encounter a problem with the wine when you're ordering. And so to start things off, Tom, why don't you tell them a little bit about ordering wine in a restaurant?
Well, the first thing to remember is that most restaurants will have a sommelier or kind of front-end staff that's familiar with the wine list and sort of pairing suggestions for that list. And they're there to serve you and to sort of help you have a better experience at the restaurant. And by all means, take advantage of that service. It's there for your benefit. And you know, they should be able to have recommendations. They should be able to sort of help match your tastes or your kind of preferences and those sorts of things, but they really are there to help you sort of maximize your enjoyment at that restaurant. Some people have a concern saying that the sommelier will try to talk them into the most expensive bottle of wine. That's very rarely true. If you're at that restaurant, you probably don't want to be there because they're probably out for your money rather than your enjoyment of the evening. But most good sommeliers will be able to find something within your price range at that restaurant.
Okay. And we're not going to talk too much really about tasting in this video because we actually have a video that was produced by David Larson, who's one of our contributors and judges, that shows you the mechanics of how to taste and talks a little bit about what you should expect when you're ordering wine. So Tom, why don't you tell them a little bit about how to handle a potential problem situation. Say you order a bottle or a glass of wine and you think that it might be corked, it might have been open for a while, and just something seems wrong with it. What do you do?
Well, the first thing to remember is that most wines are sound. They're going to be free of faults. So whether that's being corked or oxidized or sort of any of the other potential problems for a wine, most wines will be fine. But the whole process by which they should bring you that glass of wine, so if they're opening the bottle of wine at the table and giving you the cork and those things, that's a chance for you to discuss right away with the sommelier any potential faults or problems with the wine. That said, sometimes the wine's been open too long and so the wine tastes a bit flat or a bit sort of not, if it's a wine you're familiar with, you might say, you know, this isn't really what it's supposed to taste like. It tastes a little tired. It tastes like it was open 3 or 4 days ago. That's just as valid a fault as if the wine was corked. And don't be afraid to basically flag the sommelier and say, I think there might be a problem with this wine. I think it might be corked, it might be oxidized, it might be, when was it opened? That's a very valid question. You know, this wine tastes like it was opened 5 or 6 days ago. It does happen. We don't like to think it does happen, but it does happen.
Okay, so the idea is that people shouldn't be shy, shouldn't be afraid to speak up if they think that there's something wrong.
You know, some people are very concerned about you know, whether or not their beef's done a certain way or the gnocchi's too hard. You know, the same thing with the wine. You have a right to question it, and you might be wrong. The wine might not be corked. The wine might have been opened yesterday. You might just not like the wine, but you have a right to ask about it.
Okay. And what about if you order a glass or a bottle and you just don't like it? There's nothing wrong with it, you just don't like it.
That does happen. Sometimes you have high expectations for a wine or a vintage and you just don't like it, and there's nothing technically wrong with that wine. Honestly, you probably should just sort of take your lumps. Sometimes you order a dish and you don't really like it, but you enjoy it anyways. Some people aren't above saying that there's a problem with the wine or a perceived fault. But my opinion is that if you just don't like the wine but there's nothing wrong with it, that's your fault. You can bring it up with the server. They might be able to fix it for you or be willing to fix it for you. But I think that's sort of your problem.
Okay. Well, that brings us to the end of this video. If you have any questions for us, as always, feel free to get in touch via Facebook, Twitter, or email. If you've sent in a question already, thank you so much. We will get to it. And in the meantime, we will see you next week.
Cheers.